you have to make a decision at the very beginning of this process, whether you can do an upgrade versus doing a migration. And there are pros and cons of this, and it's probably the most important decision that you will make. So I want to walk you through what that looks like, what the difference is. So in an upgrade, Microsoft has provided a tool set, and that is if you're on AX2012 R2 or R3. Then that tool set is available. If you are on anything earlier than that, so AX 2009 or AX 2012 RTM, so that's before R2, you cannot use the upgrade tool set. And the reason is that database changes are so severe. When it went to AX 2012 R2 and R3, the financial dimension structure changed. So that's why that tool set only works on the newer versions of AX 2012. The other thing is the upgrade will work if you have little to no customizations. I'd say it would be very unusual for AX clients to have little to no customizations. So really, this needs to be looked at. The amount of customizations that you have really will drive the upgrade or the migration effort, both either way. So the difference, but the core difference is that if you do an upgrade, your entire database will be converted to finance and operations with the tool set that Microsoft provides. If we migrate, we leave a lot of the history behind. We also leave a lot of garbage data behind. So that means we're bringing in master data like, customers, vendors, items, bill of materials, open POs, open sales orders, open invoices, and starting the process from there, basically. And the historical data will stay in your AX, or you can have a separate effort to actually move historical data into a data warehouse, using various Azure tools that Microsoft provides. And we have a practice in-house as well that helps you with that. So again, looking at doing this migration is a much tighter process, but again, you don't have the history here. But it really, what you can and cannot do really depends on what you have. There are also other criteria, so as I mentioned, the version of Microsoft AX that you have determines whether you even can do an upgrade. And if you have small customizations, if you have a single ISV module, so something like a SK Global Treasury Management or Avalara Sales Tax, for example, right? Those vendors all provide upgraded versions to their ISV module for D365. If you have many different ISV modules, right, they all need to be evaluated and they all need to work together in the new version. So again, there's more work there. And if your database is small to medium, and basically in Microsoft terminology, that's less than a terabyte, right? So typically 100 megabytes up to 999 megabytes, but once it goes over a terabyte, it really is not practical. And the reason for that is when this upgrade happens, right, it needs to all conclude within one cutover weekend. And when the database is super huge, it's just from a timing perspective, there's too much data. It can't fit into a weekend, right? And so there, you really need to look at migration in that scenario. The other reason, if you can upgrade, if you're not planning any fundamental configuration changes, right? If you're happy with your configuration in AX 2012, then you're saying, all of my financial dimensions are good, all of my inventory dimensions are good. I don't need any changes to my chart of accounts. And, you don't want to change your costing method. Again, if you are using standard costs now and you want to go to FIFO, you cannot do an upgrade, right? You would migrate, we would reconfigure the system, we would re-implement using that new costing method, and then basically get all of the open transactions in with the new costing method to do that cutover. And Another reason to consider a migration is if you have large amounts of customizations that is functionality that might have been done by Microsoft. I would say a prime candidate might be engineering change management is now a module in D365. That means you can version control your bill of materials or other end products, released products, with a version number, and have a controlled process for assigning those version numbers and have that workflow controlled and everything. So if you have an engineering change customization in place, or an ISV product, right, we need to pull that out, and you want to replace that with standard Microsoft functionality. Another example might be revenue recognition is now a module in D365. If in the past you had an add-on product for revenue recognition, you would probably want to pull that out and use the standard that comes out of the box. That would save you some money ongoingly. So again, that all needs to be evaluated, right? The other reason to do a migration, if you have a large number of legal entities, we have clients that have 30, 50, 100 legal entities or more, you probably can't cut them over all at the same time. That is a lot of change. So usually it's done by geographical areas. You group certain, groups of legal entities together and cut them off to minimize the risk, basically, and the timing, and also, basically be able to schedule resources for this exercise. So those are some of the reasons why you would want to migrate versus upgrade. So regardless which way you go, there is quite a bit of work to be done, because as I mentioned, the whole thing needs to be analyzed. Your subject matter experts really need to be brought into this process. There's workshops that need to happen to go through your different business processes and do a short version of modeling things. And also there's lots of new configurations to be done. So if you had upgraded 3 years ago, then the old AX and D365 were probably head-to-head pretty much the same. Now we have over 600 new features and modules released by Microsoft. So there is a lot to go through as to what's in, what's out, and the changes and additional configurations in every module, basically, that need to be set up and then tested by your subject matter experts. Integrations, if you have any third-party integrations or, shipping or things of that nature, you want to take that, obviously has to be redone. You want to look at your reporting, your Power BI, your data warehousing, as I mentioned earlier. There's other cloud considerations, basically, for environments, Power Apps, things of that nature, tool sets that are brand new that you could bring in to help out with your D365. And the licensing has to be cut over and managed. We have mock go lives, basically, that needs to be tested. This is not a one-time thing. So there's iterations of this, right? And then iterations of testing and training, basically, and then verification of the data that actually comes over. So, from a large perspective, you can see what a project plan for something like this might look like, and however deep you're currently implemented. So if you're live all the way through manufacturing, for example, then there's the number of modules and the number of legal entities will drive your effort, basically, with this. So I hope this gives you a bit of an overview as far as just the different areas where effort needs to take place. And we as a partner, we guide you through that effort, but your subject matter experts and your testing is going to be instrumental. Regardless of migration or upgrade, there is a large technical effort involved in this process. So I'd say the effort on both upgrade or migration is probably 60% technical and 40% functional. I think that's probably a good rule of thumb.